You are watching breaking news right now where Senator Mitch McConnell has just announced that he is stepping down as minority leader. He is the longest serving Senate caucus leader in history. He says that he will step down from that particular post in November, but he says that he will keep his seat in the meantime and continuing through his term ending in January 2027. He says, quite frankly, he looks forward to another season. He cited Ecclesiastic saying that everything has a season and a purpose, and that one of the underappreciated talents of this job is knowing when to move on to the next chapter, one that he says he is now looking forward to. Let's go ahead and bring in Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles right now. Ryan, what does this mean for the state of the Republican leadership as we speak in this moment?
Well, Morgan, I think there's no doubt that this was not a shock, but it did come as a bit of a surprise at the timing of this announcement by Senator Mitch McConnell. There had been a sense that his failing health and an anxious group of younger Republican leaders coming up behind him and a bit of dissatisfaction from the conservative flank of his party that his tenure as leader was already kind of in endangered territory. But it does come as a surprise that he chose to get out ahead of it and make this announcement at a time that no one was expecting him to make this announcement and declare fully what his intention is, and that is to stay on as leader through the November election, but then remain in the Senate for the remainder of his term, which will go through the 2026 election cycle. And what it's going to do is it's going to set off a scramble. There is not a clear heir apparent to Mitch McConnell as the Republican leader in the Senate. There are a number of strong contenders, among them the #2 ranking senator in the Republican caucus right now, who's the Senate whip, John Thune of South Dakota. But there's also a Senator John Cornyn from Texas, who was a former member of Republican leadership, who will certainly make a bid. And then another John by the name of Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, who's also in Senate leadership and is considered to be one of the frontrunners to replace Mitch McConnell. Whomever takes over this job is going to find it in a very different position than Mitch McConnell did. The Senate Republican caucus traditionally stayed very much in line behind their leadership. If Mitch McConnell spoke, most members fell in line behind him, and he did a pretty effective job of kind of taking the pulse of his conference at regular times and then having them act accordingly. There is a bit of a conservative faction now that's voicing their opinion and making their voice known a little bit stronger than there has been in the past. But there's no doubt that this is a monster moment in terms of Capitol Hill and its leadership, and in many ways a historic moment as well.
Ryan, you mentioned obviously his health. We did see a couple of instances this past year where he froze in front of cameras. He didn't talk about that at all in this statement and talking about stepping down. But he started when he was 42. He is now 82 years old. But we won't see any changes really until November. You mentioned some potential candidates. Talk about the power of this role. What does this mean for the next person stepping in? What could that mean for the next president?
Yeah, I mean, to put it very frankly, it's one of the four most powerful positions in Congress. Outside of the Senate Majority Leader and the Speaker of the House, the Senate Minority Leader ranks right up there as someone who has an enormous voice in any negotiation. And particularly in the Senate, it's very important to point out that the Minority Leader wields great influence in the Senate, because basically to get anything done in the Senate, you need 60 votes. And so that means almost every piece of legislation requires bipartisan support. And Mitch McConnell has been right there in the midst of many of these very high-profile negotiations that have led to, budgets being passed. It's led to, things like the massive COVID relief package. None of those things happen without Mitch McConnell having a seat at the table and him being involved in these discussions. So it is a very, very important role. Maybe not one that the average American is that clued in on, but it is a seat of power in American government that is not matched by many.
And Ryan, it's a seat of power that has changed. I mean, if you can just kind of give us the big picture here, because you've covered Capitol Hill for quite some time. How has this role changed over recent years? And we've talked about Thune, Cornyn, Barrasso, people who could be putting their name and their hat in the ring. But what does this mean for them? I mean, can they still sort of wield power over a cohesive party, given that there's a conservative faction that has sort of had this party by the chokehold?
I mean, it's such a great point, Morgan. I mean, we've seen what's happened on the other side of the Capitol with the House of Representatives, and how the Speaker of the House, which normally was a position that commanded a lot of authority and could require people to kind of get in line has now become feckless in many ways, at the wit and whims of even one member. And the Speaker of the House really is forced to listen to each member as opposed to a top-down leadership style. That it could be the future in the Senate. There is a growing faction of conservative Republicans that have wielded a lot more influence than they have in the past. And so this next leader has a serious challenge in front of them that is not unlike the challenge that's facing the current Speaker of the House on the House side in Mike Johnson.
All right, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles with breaking news there from the Capitol of Minority Leader Mitch McConnell stepping down. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.